Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My question is, we fear death. We fear death because, understandably, it's because we feel we have got a lot of sins. But death also means returning to our beloved. But we fear more than we ever feel happy to return. So, Shaykh, is this the wholly right attitude? Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Usually those who have the wrong concept of life have the wrong concept of death. Usually those who have the wrong concept of life have the wrong concept of death. Because there's the fear of death for two reasons. Number one, the unknown, or the doubts that are just casted in our mind. And those doubts have festered and mushroomed because we really haven't established any relationship with Allah Ta'ala that's meaningful. If any, we've established just a logical, a transaction-based relationship. Meaning, let me give you a theory that I believe in you, and you give me in return whatever insurance policy I need. And we've really never had a sort of a relationship of love with Allah Ta'ala, where we actually lived with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and established those moments of clarity and love with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore there's that khawf and huzn, both. Khawf means fear, huzn means sadness. Fear of the upcoming, sadness for leaving what's behind. Therefore Al-Quran addresses that to the awliya. What does Allah say? Ala inna awliya Allahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. The awliya of Allah, those awliya means comes from the word wali. Wali means qareeb, those who are close to Allah. La khawf, there is no fear and there is no sadness. They don't fear that which is coming because they already know Him, and they're not sad about that which is leaving behind because they already see in the world of souls their whole life at best is a second. So sorry, I'm gonna be late for just a second, literally, and after a second we'll meet again. Because we're weak human beings, regardless, we face death every day anyway. We kind of escape death, but we actually live it every single day. Every single day, cells in our body die and new cells are born. Every day that we live, the day dies when the night is born, and the night dies when the day is born. And every day we see all kinds of forms of death. So we've encountered death, all of us have, many times. Some experiences may be more intense than others, but the fear comes from the lack of having established a relationship of love with Allah Ta'ala. And that's why I say always again, for me first and then for all of you obviously, soul searching is important. And when they say, why don't you do some soul searching, they actually mean that. Meaning do some soul searching to find Allah Ta'ala and establish that relationship of mahabbah and love with Him. When you're praying to Him, you're going to be, eventually it's going to be you and Him anyway. You and your Lord. That's why it's important to take time now in the world, while we're living in this world that's veiled by the mind and the body, to make some time for Allah Ta'ala and establish that relationship. But the human being is always scared of the unknown. If the unknown becomes known, there's no more scare. And there's no more scare. Wallahu a'lam.
Shaykh, I'm just going to read two questions very quickly, both from the floor. If Allah removes from me my wealth, health, or power, what should my dua be? For Allah to return them to me, or what? That's one. The second question is, dear Shaykh, what if we always have the thinking that whenever bad things happen to us, it's because of our sins towards Allah, and that Allah wants to punish us for it? Is that good?
So if Allah Ta'ala took away your health, wealth, and afflicted you with all kinds of things, what should your dua be? Ask Him for everything. You're encouraged to talk to Allah. You're actually not encouraged. You're almost you're demanded, actually, Islamically speaking, to talk to Allah. We call that talking to Allah dua. Dua is talking to Allah, but not the dua when you're talking with your tongue and your heart is singing a different tune. That's not dua. That's lip service. But you're encouraged to speak to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah. And you don't have to know any language. You don't even have to speak any language. You can just make dua in the language of your heart, with your tongue absolutely and your mouth silent. Ya Allah. Let your heart do the talking for a change. Ask Him anything you want. But my suggestion at the end, ask Him. Ask Him for your health and wealth and everything, even more health, more wealth, more whatever. At the end, ask Him, but whatever you know is good, is best, not good, sorry. Whatever you know is best for me. Don't even ask for good. Why bother? Ask for best. Whatever is best for me, give it to me. Ask Him for everything that you want. But I always say, instead of insisting on being suggestive to Him as what's best for you, right? Because sometimes this is what's best for, well, you know, I mean, we are limited by what we know, and what we know is limited. We are limited by what we know, but what we know is limited. I'm not saying don't ask Him. Please ask Him for everything, even the smallest thing. If you lost your shoe, ask Him, Ya Allah, help me find my shoe. And that's proper. That is proper. Why Islam? Why does Islam tell you to do that? Because asking means you're directing your heart to Him, and that's all that matters. The rest doesn't really matter. He knows what you're going through, but you directing your heart to Him, and Ya Rabbi. Not with your tongue, with your heart. Okay, good. After you ask Him for everything that you want and you dream of and beyond. If I was you, I would ask Him even for beyond the dream as well. Don't insist on being suggestive to Him as what's best for you. Always rely on His knowledge and love for you than your love for you. Rely on His love for you than your love for you. Because He loves you more than you love yourself, and He knows you more than you know yourself. So ask Him for everything and say, Ya Allah, or give me whatever is, I think this is best for me, but you know what's best, so give me the best, not less than the best. Whatever best for me, please give me that. And that's exactly what istikhara is. Fi Sahih al-Bukhari, you all know it. All right. The second question, bad things, sins, punishment. Maybe. Maybe. Meaning, I don't want you to sort of think that afflictions are entirely by your own necessarily. Though, sure, sins or evil things we do, even if it's on the level of a thought, an evil thought you generate, you're going to pay for it. You haven't even translated it into words yet. Nobody knows that evil thought, but it's in your mind. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it immediately. And it's going to come. So long it lives in your mind, you're going to pay for it more and more. You put some water and you grow it, now it becomes a big fat tree in your mind, you're going to pay for it. It mushrooms all over the mind and it becomes persistent. It's a steady scene in your mind. You're going to pay for it. It takes all that there is in your mind, you're going to pay for it already. And if you don't feel you're paying for it, you're actually suffering double issues. The lack of sensation and understanding that you are actually paying for it, and also growing some evil things. So I don't want to say that when you do evil, when you say bad things to other people, when you hurt people, when you lie to people, when you steal, when you cheat, I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying when people do that. These things, Islamically speaking, have immediate ramifications, immediate consequences, not later. Oftentimes we think, oh, only if I do things, I will be held accountable. In the day of judgment, you're right, not in the dunya. In the day of judgment, if you've had an evil thought and you never translated it into word or action, it will be registered. It's in your record. But you'll be exonerated from the punishment for it, out of Allah's mercy. You just had a thought, you didn't translate it. But that's only in the day of judgment. In the dunya, you're paying for it. You're going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it in so many ways. The mere negative thoughts. Why do you think the Prophet ﷺ في صحيح البخاري Muslim الحديث عن أبي هريرة إياكم والظن فإن الظن أكذب الحديث. Be careful of bad thoughts, for bad thoughts are the most evil of things. Be careful of giving birth to negative and evil thoughts in your mind. It's like you're taking poison and dumping it in your heart. Okay, more poison. You're just toxicity. You're just dumping toxins and more toxins, and you expect things to be good. Hey, you're going down, my brother. All right. So, having said that, could sins then be linked to afflictions? Maybe, but not necessarily. Maybe. Don't try to sit and guess what Allah Ta'ala definitively knows. And definitely don't make that remark. Because if you do, you're trying to say, I know what Allah knows, and you don't. You know how some people, when some natural disaster happens, they say, oh yeah, look, they've deserved it, they've done this. How do you know? How do you know what they deserve? How do you know you don't deserve worse? You may deserve worse, but Allah does not give you that. Don't try to put yourself that you know Allah's knowledge. You don't. Humble yourself before Him. Allah does not like those who are arrogant. And arrogance always comes with ignorance. Be careful. Be careful of accusing others of things you think you're better, that makes you indirectly self-righteous. That, oh, alhamdulillah, it didn't happen to me, it happened to them. You never know. Allah Ta'ala, essentially, Allah Ta'ala gives in the form of giving and in the form of depriving. We give in the form of giving in general, but even then, but Allah Ta'ala gives always, either through giving or through depriving. It's just that we're upset because we don't understand that depriving is actually giving. Because we look at things from a certain perspective, 60, 70 year timeline, and we have only one linear dimension that we see. We don't have the knowledge that's encompassing and all that. So we make judgment based on a very simplistic view of what things are. But that's not to belittle the sins and the consequences of sins either.